The security camera footage from Tuesday night was completely blank, but I knew someone had been in my backyard. I'm Xavier Ross, 38 years old, finance supervisor at Henderson Credit Union. I've lived in the Lake Park community here in Mapleton Hollow, Nevada for 6 years. Never had problems with neighbors. Never had issues with the HOA. Until last month. The motion sensor lights had triggered at 2:47 a.m. I checked the timestamp on my phone app. But when I pulled up the Swan DVR system the next morning, nothing. Just 8 hours of black screen, where there should have been infrared footage of my back patio. I walked the perimeter of my 0.23-acre lot. The sprinkler heads along the eastern property line had been moved. Not damaged, moved. Someone had carefully repositioned each Rainbird 5000 series head exactly 3 inches closer to my neighbor's fence. The PVC connections showed fresh tool marks. My surveyor stakes were gone too. The orange plastic markers I'd placed last week to verify my property boundaries. All 4 corners. Vanished. I called the HOA office. Jaden Rivera answered. He's the facilities coordinator. Handles maintenance requests and covenant violations. We'd worked together on several community projects. I trusted him. Probably kids, he said. You know how teenagers get during summer break. File a report with Henderson PD if you want. But honestly, Xavier, it sounds like harmless pranks. The security system had never malfunctioned before. I'd installed it myself 2 years ago. Commercial-grade equipment. The cameras record continuously to a 2 terabytes hard drive. Motion detection sends alerts to my phone. The system had documented everything from package deliveries to raccoons in my garbage cans. But Tuesday night was different. Complete digital silence. I spent the weekend reviewing the previous month's footage, frame-by-frame analysis of every motion alert, looking for patterns, searching for anything unusual. That's when I found the first gap, July 15th, 3:18 a.m. to 3:52 a.m., 34 minutes of missing footage. I'd never noticed because nothing seemed disturbed that morning. No alerts on my phone, no obvious signs of intrusion. Then July 8th, another gap. 47 minutes. June 29th, 1 hour and 12 minutes. Someone had been systematically deleting segments of my security recordings. Someone with technical knowledge. Someone who understood my system's vulnerabilities. I checked the DVR access logs. The unit keeps internal records of all user interactions. Login attempts. File modifications. System resets. The logs showed remote access sessions I'd never initiated. IP addresses I didn't recognize. Administrative commands executed while I slept. My hands shook as I scrolled through the data. Months of unauthorized access. Someone had been watching me, learning my routines, mapping my property, and erasing the Beneo. The most recent intrusion was yesterday. 4:23 a.m. 43 minutes of deleted footage. But this time, they'd made a mistake. The mistake was a partial file recovery. When someone deletes security footage, the system creates temporary backup fragments. Usually these get overwritten within 72 hours, but Tuesday's deletion had been interrupted. I found 18 seconds of recovered video. Timestamp 4:31 a.m. A figure in dark clothing approached my back gate. Male. Average height. Moving with purpose, not stealth. He knew exactly where the camera blind spots were located. The figure turned toward the house. Streetlight illumination caught his profile for 3 frames. Jaden Rivera. My stomach dropped. The HOA facilities coordinator I'd trusted with my security concerns had been systematically infiltrating my property for months. The man who'd dismissed my missing decorations as teenage pranks was the one stealing them. I needed more before confronting him. Tuesday's partial footage wasn't enough for police involvement. I needed documentation of the broader pattern. I drove to Henderson City Hall Wednesday morning. The records department keeps digital copies of all HOA correspondence and violation notices. Public information, available for 25 cents per page. I need copies of all communications between Lake Park HOA and my property address, I told the clerk. January through present. She printed 47 pages. I paid $11.75 and found a quiet corner to review the documents. The pattern was immediately obvious. Every security camera gap corresponded with an HOA Violation notice filed against my property. Jaden had been using his administrative access to create false complaints, then trespassing to plant or photograph minor infractions. July 15th gap. Notice filed for unauthorized garden decorations exceeding height restrictions per CC&R. Section 4.2.1. My garden gnomes were 8 inches tall. The restriction was 12 inches. July 8th gap. Mailbox paint deterioration violating aesthetic standards per CC&R. Section 6.1.3. I'd painted the mailbox 3 weeks earlier. June 29th gap. Lawn maintenance below community standards per CC&R. Section 5.4.2. My grass was professionally maintained by Desert Bloom Landscaping. Each violation included photographs as lean. Timestamps showed they were taken during the missing footage windows. Jaden had been documenting fake infractions while my cameras were disabled. But why? HOA violation fines were minimal. $25 for first offenses. $50 for repeat violations. The financial motivation didn't make sense. I called my mortgage company. Desert Valley Credit Union handles my escrow account, including HOA dues and violation assessments. I requested a detailed payment history for the past year. The representative emailed the records within an hour. I opened the PDF in my car outside City Hall. My blood pressure spiked. According to the credit union's records, I'd been assessed $2,847 in HOA violation fines over the past 8 months. The payments had been automatically deducted from my escrow account. But I'd never received violation notices for most of these charges. The City Hall documents showed only 12 violations. The credit union showed 31 separate assessments. Someone had been filing false violations and collecting the fines without sending me the required notices. The HOA's financial coordinator was embezzling money through fabricated infractions. I drove directly to the HOA management office. Jaden's supervisor, Caroline Rivera, managed the administrative staff. No relation to Jaden, despite the shared surname. She'd been with the company for 6 years. I need to review my violation history, I told her. There are discrepancies in my escrow statements. Caroline pulled up my account on her computer. You've had quite a few issues this year, Mr. Ross. 31 violations since January. That's unusual for Lake Park residents. I never received notices for most of these. She frowned at the screen. All notices show as delivered. Jaden handles violation documentation and resident communication. He's very thorough. Can I see the photographs? Caroline clicked through the digital files. Each violation included multiple photos documenting the alleged infraction. But something was wrong with the images. The metadata showed they were taken with the same camera model, same resolution, same file naming convention. These were all taken with identical equipment, I said. Jaden uses a company camera for documentation. Standard procedure. I studied the photos more carefully. The angles were wrong. Too high. Too distant. Like someone photographing from outside my property fence rather than conducting a proper inspection. I'd like copies of all violation notices mailed to my address. Caroline accessed the mailing records. Interesting. Most of these show electronic delivery only. No physical mail sent. What does that mean? Jaden marked them as email notifications. But I don't see any email addresses in your contact information. The embezzlement scheme was becoming clear. Jaden had been creating false violations, marking them as electronically delivered to avoid mailing physical notices and collecting the fines through the escrow system. The deleted security footage prevented me from documenting his trespassing activities. I need to speak with Jaden immediately. Caroline checked the staff schedule. He's conducting property inspections this afternoon. Should be back around 4. I waited in the parking lot. At 4:15, Jaden's white Honda Civic pulled into the employee section. He walked toward the building, carrying a digital camera and clipboard. The same camera model from the violation photos. I approached him before he reached the door. We need to talk about my security system. Jaden's expression shifted. Casual confidence replaced by wariness. What about it? Someone's been hacking my cameras, deleting footage, creating gaps in the recording timeline. That's concerning. Have you contacted the manufacturer? I found recovered video from Tuesday night. Want to guess what it shows? His face went pale. Xavier, I think there's been a misunderstanding. 31 false violations. $2,847 in fraudulent fines. Months of unauthorized access to my security system. That's not a misunderstanding, Jaden. That's embezzlement and computer fraud. He looked around the parking lot. Other employees were leaving for the day. Can we discuss this inside? We can discuss it with Henderson PD. I'm filing charges tomorrow morning. Jaden's composure cracked completely. You don't understand the pressure I'm under. The HOA board expects violation revenue targets. If collections drop, they cut staff positions. I have 2 kids in college. So you decided to steal from residents? It wasn't supposed to hurt anyone. Small fines, spread across multiple properties. The escrow system makes it invisible to homeowners. How many other residents are you stealing from? He didn't answer. But his silence confirmed my suspicion. This wasn't isolated to my property. Jaden had been systematically defrauding multiple Lake Park homeowners. I'm calling the police right now. Wait, Jaden pulled out his phone. I can fix this. Reverse the charges. Delete the false violations. Make it disappear. You're admitting to fraud. I'm trying to make things right. I was already dialing 911. The Henderson Police Department needed to investigate before Jaden could destroy more or warn other potential victims. The operator connected me to Detective Martinez. I explained the situation while Jaden stood frozen beside his car. We'll send an officer to take your statement, Detective Martinez said. Don't let the suspect leave the... Jaden heard enough of the conversation to understand. He got in his car and drove away before I could stop him. But it didn't matter. I had the recovered security footage, the violation records, the escrow payment history, the admission of guilt. The investigation was just beginning. Detective Martinez arrived at my house the next morning with a warrant for Jaden's arrest. The Henderson Police Department had moved quickly once they understood the scope of the fraud. We executed a search warrant on Rivera's home computer last night, Martinez explained. Found of unauthorized access to multiple security systems throughout Lake Park. Your case opened up something much bigger. I handed over my complete file. Security footage timestamps, violation records, escrow payment documentation, the digital forensics report from TechGuard Solutions. How many other homeowners are affected? At least 17 properties, possibly more. We're still analyzing the data. Martinez reviewed my documentation. This is solid work, Mr. Ross. Most fraud victims don't have this level of. I'm a finance supervisor. Documentation is what I do. We'll need you to testify before the grand jury. Rivera's attorney is claiming this was an administrative error, not intentional fraud. I have his recorded admission of guilt. That helps. But we need to prove systematic intent across multiple victims. The investigation expanded rapidly. Agent Casey Hernandez from the city zoning department joined the case when they discovered Jaden had been falsifying municipal code violations as well. Rivera was creating fake citations for non-existent zoning infractions, Hernandez explained during our meeting at Henderson City Hall. Property setback violations that don't exist, fence height restrictions that aren't in the municipal code. He was generating revenue from completely fabricated ordinances. How is that possible? The HOA management software connects to city databases. Rivera had administrative access to create violation notices that appeared to come from municipal inspectors. Homeowners assumed they were legitimate city citations. Agent Hernandez showed me the falsified documents. Violation notices citing Municipal Code Section 18.6.4.030 for fence height restrictions. But Henderson's actual fence ordinance was Section 18.6.4.040, and it allowed 6-foot privacy fences in residential zones. He was counting on homeowners not verifying the citations against actual city code. How much money are we talking about? Preliminary estimate is $47,000 in fraudulent fines across 19 properties over 8 months. The scope was staggering. Jaden had been operating a systematic fraud scheme, using his position as HOA facilities coordinator to steal from residents through fake violations and inflated fines. Caroline Rivera, a neighbor from Sunset Circle, contacted me after seeing the police activity. I got 3 violation notices last month for landscaping infractions that don't make sense. Dead grass in areas where I have artificial turf. Unauthorized tree removal for trees that are still standing. Did you pay the fines? $340 through the escrow system. I trusted the HOA management. Caroline became the second victim to file a police report. Then Jaden Rivera from Maple Drive came. No relation to the suspect, despite sharing a surname. His violation was for an, quote, unauthorized storage shed that was actually a city-approved gazebo with proper permits. I paid $280 in fines and spent $500 on a contractor to move a structure that didn't violate any codes, Jaden Rivera explained to Detective Martinez. The victim count grew daily. Each homeowner had a similar story. Confusing violation notices, threats of liens and legal action, pressure to pay quickly through the automated escrow system. The HOA board called an emergency meeting once the criminal investigation became public. Board President Caroline Martinez had been unaware of Jaden's fraud scheme. The board had no knowledge of these activities, Martinez announced to the packed community center. We trusted our facilities coordinator to handle code enforcement properly. How do we know the board wasn't involved? Asked Caroline Rivera. The police have reviewed all board communications and financial records. This was a solo operation by Rivera using his administrative access. I stood up during the public comment period. The HOA needs new oversight procedures. No single employee should have unilateral authority to issue violations and collect fines. What do you recommend? Asked board member Caroline Thompson. Require board approval for all violation notices over $100. Mandatory verification of municipal code citations with city inspectors. Monthly audits of the violation database by an independent third party. The board voted unanimously to implement these changes. They also voted to terminate the management contract with Pinnacle Property Services, Jaden's employer. Pinnacle's regional manager, Caroline Davis, attended the next board meeting to address the situation. We had no knowledge of Rivera's unauthorized activities. Our company will cooperate fully with the criminal investigation. What about restitution for the victims? I asked. Pinnacle Property Services will refund all fraudulent fines identified by the police investigation. We're also implementing new software controls to prevent similar incidents. The criminal case moved quickly. Jaden was arrested on charges of computer fraud, embezzlement, and theft by deception. The Clark County District Attorney's Office filed additional charges for each victim identified. I testified before the grand jury in November. The prosecutor, Deputy DA Caroline Wilson, walked me through them methodically. Mr. Ross, how did you first discover the unauthorized access to your security system? I noticed gaps in the footage timeline, motion events that should have triggered recordings but didn't. What led you to suspect Mr. Rivera specifically? The timing of the deleted footage corresponded exactly with his property inspections. Only someone with physical access to my camera system could have manipulated the recordings. Did Mr. Rivera admit to the fraud? Yes. He said he was under pressure to meet violation revenue targets and thought small fines spread across multiple properties wouldn't be noticed. The grand jury returned indictments on all charges. Jaden's attorney negotiated a plea agreement rather than go to trial. The sentencing hearing was held in December. Judge Caroline Foster reviewed the victim impact statements from 19 homeowners. Mr. Rivera, you violated the trust of an entire community, Judge Foster said. Your position gave you access to residents' homes and personal information. You exploited that access for personal gain. Jaden received 18 months in county jail and 5 years probation. He was ordered to pay $47,000 in restitution plus court costs. But the legal resolution was only part of the story. The Lake Park community had been fundamentally changed by the betrayal. 6 months after the sentencing, I stood in my backyard reviewing the new security system installation. The cameras were different now, hardwired, encrypted, no wireless vulnerabilities. The Lake Park community had changed too. The HOA board implemented new oversight procedures. All violation notices required photographic reviewed by 2 board members. Inspection schedules became public record. Property access required written consent with specific time windows. Caroline Martinez was elected as the new HOA president in February. Her first initiative was hiring an independent auditing firm to review 3 years of violation records. They found 47 additional fraudulent fines across the community. We're rebuilding trust one policy at a time, Caroline told me during a board meeting. Transparency has to be our foundation going. The restitution checks arrived in March. Pinnacle Property Services included a formal apology letter with each payment. They also donated $25,000 to the community for playground improvements. I received calls from homeowners in other Nevada communities facing similar issues. Word had spread about our investigation methods. I shared the documentation process we'd developed. The paper trail approach. The importance of preserving digital. Agent Casey Hernandez from the city zoning department started using our case as a training example for other municipalities. Homeowner vigilance caught what our oversight missed, she explained during a county workshop. The criminal case had broader implications. The Nevada Real Estate Division launched an investigation into HOA management companies statewide. They found similar fraud patterns in 12 other communities. I work with state representatives on HOA reform legislation. The proposed bill would require independent audits for all management companies handling violation enforcement. It would also mandate homeowner access to inspection records and photographic. My daily routine returned to normal by spring. Morning coffee on the patio, checking the encrypted security feeds, reviewing quarterly HOA reports with new scrutiny. The trust would take longer to rebuild. Every violation notice still triggered suspicion. Every property inspection required verification. The community had learned to question authority that once seemed unquestionable. But we were stronger for it, more vigilant, more connected as neighbors who had faced deception together and emerged with systems that protected everyone. The silence in my backyard felt different now, not the absence of conflict, but the presence of earned peace. The cameras recorded everything. The documentation was secure. The oversight was real. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.